Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well today. Lord knows I am, because today we're going to be covering some serious Harman Smith salt, because he thinks that people should stop supporting Sony and Microsoft because their consoles are too powerful, and game companies can't afford to max out their games with their settings, which means that Harman is coping and seething. So let's jump headfirst right into it.
Game developers are wasting their time developing titles for Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and the PC. They should be focusing all their time and effort in maximizing their support for Nintendo Switch consoles. Every game should be coming out on the most successful gaming platform.
Yeah, Harman? The Switch may be the most popular, but do you know what it is not? The most powerful. Most of these game companies don't just want these games to play greatly, they want them to run as best as they possibly can, and they also want the games they're making to look as good as is humanly possible as well. The Nintendo Switch isn't all that powerful, and I can tell you now that I have completely lost interest, as well as faith in the Nintendo Switch, which is why I'm getting rid of most of my Nintendo Switch library. To really rub the salt into your wounds, Harman, I ordered a Steam Deck just yesterday. Well, as of this video's making, it was yesterday. But anyway, the point is, the Switch is losing third-party support because its hardware is so out of date. If you do some research, Harman, you would know this.
This isn't like rocket science. This isn't all that complicated. All we're seeing now is a lot of bluster, a lot of nonsense, a lot of like weird claims from developers who are paid off by Sony in order to support other platforms, but not Nintendo, into not supporting Nintendo Switch. That's what we're seeing here.
Harman, what in God's holy name are you blathering about? What would Sony achieve by blocking Resident Evil 4 or any other game for that matter from coming to the Nintendo Switch? The only game I see Sony trying to block from going anywhere is Call of Duty going to Xbox exclusively. Where are you getting your sources from, Harman?
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Let's be real here. This has been happening since the 90s. It's been like a very prevalent problem. But now it's becoming more and more obvious because the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have absolutely nothing to offer to gamers whatsoever. The big new game of this generation, Hogwarts Legacy, is also coming to Switch, right? You have games that are available on every platform. You have games that like really should be available on Switch. There is no justification for Resident Evil 4 Remake or Elden Ring or like Returnal or like any of these other multi-platform games to not be available on Nintendo Switch.
Harman, the main reason Elden Ring, Hogwarts Legacy, and the Resident Evil 4 Remake aren't available on Switch may just blow your mind, but it's because the Switch doesn't have the specs capable of running them. Those games would absolutely demolish the Switch, and don't lie to me, Harman. Even some of Nintendo's first-party games can't even run all that well on Switch. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet certainly spring to mind. What about Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity? Heck, even The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild can't run at a solid 30 FPS without occasionally dipping into the low 20s. What is it going to take for you to learn this lesson, Harman?
And in essence, if a developer really wants to produce high-quality, unique, interesting stuff at an affordable price, right? If they want to stay within their budget, if they don't want to blow $100 million on Forspoken, they should be developing for the Nintendo Switch, which is a much more reasonably priced, reasonably powered console. And that is the thing about this console generation. That is the thing about the PC, is that these platforms are indeed overpowered. They are overpriced. No developer can afford to like properly support these consoles with like develop games that can like really max out their capabilities.
And there's that coping and seething from Harman again. Harman, the only console that's overpriced this gen is the Nintendo Switch. PS2/GameCube specs with the price of about a PS3. The PS5 and Xbox Series X do indeed cost more, but they also offer more. And by the way, from what I've heard from Gara of the Rage, if you know how, you can actually emulate games on the Xbox Series S and X. I don't know how, and I can't talk about it as I don't have an Xbox Series X, although I plan on getting one by this Christmas, but it is apparently doable.
So instead, they shouldn't even try. If they want to make good, compelling video games, they should be focusing on making good, compelling video games, not on supporting useless pieces of hardware that really have no business existing to begin with.
For once I agree, Harman, the Nintendo Switch shouldn't exist to begin with because it's so out of date.
Right? PS5 and Xbox Series X should not be supported, okay? They shouldn't even be available for sale, honestly. And the only way that's ever going to happen is if we simply refuse to support them, don't pay their subscription fees, don't buy their games, don't buy their platforms, and instead focus all of our time, our energy, and our passion into playing Nintendo exclusives. I can tell you that I've had more fun playing Nintendo Switch Sports than I would have playing Elden Ring.
Harman, what on God's green earth is that kind of logic? First of all, Nintendo Switch Sports and Elden Ring aren't even remotely similar, and as such, they cannot be compared. Second of all, I, and most other people will agree, that you can get a lot more game time out of Elden Ring than you can Nintendo Switch Sports. I mean, if Nintendo Switch Sports is your kind of game and Elden Ring isn't, then fair enough, I'll respect your opinion, but don't be coming in here telling me that everyone would have more fun playing Nintendo Switch Sports than Elden Ring. Also, if any game company needs to have support dry up, then I would honestly say it's Nintendo, because their quality has been drifting quite a bit lately.
Right? It's more challenging, it's more complex, there's more to do in the game, there's more technical depth, there's more variety in the gameplay. Like, Nintendo Switch Sports just dominates Elden Ring, and I feel like very few people will want to admit that because they want to continue deluding themselves into thinking that like Elden Ring is somehow cutting edge or like the best game on the market when really it's not even close. There are better action RPGs. There are better open world games. There are better games, period, on Nintendo Switch, and yet
a claim that is made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence, Harman. How many times do we have to have that conversation?
We're still in this delusional period where nobody wants to admit it. People really are trying to justify their $4,000 PCs, their overpriced consoles, the fact that we have a new console generation to begin with, when none of that was really necessary. What people should have done is just demand better games on the consoles they already owned. Like, the PS4 was dead in the water, and so they had to pump out the PS5, which is also floundering. Like, just let the brand die.
The PS4 sold about 117.2 million units. The PS5 sold about 32 million units. I don't think Sony is floundering at all, Harman. Tell me you haven't done research for this video without actually telling me you haven't done research for this video.
And just support Nintendo going forward. Like, it's not all that complicated, but we're seeing like companies just fall over backwards trying to defend Sony. You have like Square Enix releasing statements saying that like Final Fantasy 16 couldn't possibly run on a gaming PC, which is like ridiculous. Oh, we designed this exclusively for the PS5. Like that's a load of crap, and everybody knows it.
And yet you're the only one I see who is spewing that crap, Harman. Also, the reason why Final Fantasy 16 is PS5 exclusive, for now anyways, is because I've heard that Sony co-developed it, meaning that Sony can make it PS5 exclusive if they want to. But seeing as how Sony is starting to port a lot of their games, or at least some of them, to Steam, maybe Final Fantasy 16 will come to Steam one day too. Oh man, I can't wait to see the Sony Pony Salt Mine explosion when and if that should happen. Unfortunately, it might be a while, but you never know.
Like, you have developers just crying about, like, blowing $100 million on, like, Forspoken. You have, like, the games as a service becoming more, being pushed. You have, like, these people developing NFTs, right? Square Enix, like, legit fired their CEO and put forward the guy who was pushing for NFTs at the forefront of their company. And yet all anybody wants to talk about is this alleged idea that Pokemon is like going to start contributing to NFTs to begin with. I don't see a lot of people focusing on the Square Enix side of things, but I see people like trying to make stuff up about Pokemon. So, interesting double standard there.
Harman, if you only knew and did some research, you would know that the Pokemon Company put out on their official website that they're looking to hire someone who has knowledge of NFTs, blockchain, bitcoins, and whatever else, all the crap that people don't like in video games anymore, meaning that it's a very fair assumption that Nintendo, or at least the Pokemon side of Nintendo, will start putting NFTs in their games soon. I can't talk about Square Enix doing that, as I don't keep up with them anymore because, quite frankly, Square Enix has been making stupid business decisions ever since they merged. There have been a couple of good decisions throughout their time as a merged company, but the bad far outweighs the good.
Again, all this comes down to is Nintendo bad and everything else good. You know, like you're not allowed to be a Nintendo fanboy. You're not allowed to talk about like how Nintendo is superior to other consoles. But if you like gaming PC, oh, you're the part of the master race. Oh, if you're a Sony fan, oh, you have the most successful TV show of all time, the best video game adaptation ever in The Last of Us HBO. If you're an Xbox fan, oh, you're gonna own every single game company on the planet, and you have Xbox Game Pass, which is the most successful gaming streaming service in the world. Which isn't true, by the way. Nintendo Switch Online is more popular.
About a good 9/10 of what Harman said there was complete gibberish to me, but then 9/10 of everything Harman says is absolute gibberish, so what else is new? But what I did manage to catch wind of in all that gibberish is that he said that the Nintendo Switch Online is the most popular service of these online console services, which I can tell you now is absolutely not true. Xbox Game Pass is the most popular one because, and this goes for the PS5 version too, you get access to hundreds of games on that console. You can play the full version for free and then download them and I think keep them permanently? I don't know. I'm not too sure. If you know, tell me down in the comments below and I'll put in the description the correction. But anyway, I do know that you don't get that much from Nintendo Switch Online except for a few ancient Nintendo-based ROMs that aren't even emulated properly. But the PC Online is the best. No online subscription with the exception of MMO games, and that's about it! Everything else in Harman's video from this point on is just a bunch of coping and seething from Harman, and he's talking about, oh no, it's Alex, being a fan of porn, and how Harman desperately wants to see Alex's porn collection, and completely missing the point that Nintendo owns a porno, and how Fatal Frame 4 is on pretty much everything and not exclusive to Nintendo, and I just don't know what to say anymore, but Harman, I will tell you this much right here, right now. I wasn't joking when I said that Nintendo owns a porno. Good day, everybody!